Ladies and gentlemen, welcome back to Gaming with me, Tony Mo, and we are here today to talk just a little bit about Destiny 2. This is going to be as spoiler-free as it gets. The only footage I'm going to be showing you guys throughout this entire discussion is me completing some public events on the EDZ, the very first landing zone and planet, at a very early level. That's all you're going to see. So, in fact, if you want to put this video in the background and just listen to what I have to say, you are 100% A-okay to do that. I do not want to spoil anything. When it comes to spoilers, I'm a purist. I'm that person that wants people to experience a game like Destiny 2 as blind as they possibly can, because it's all of the set pieces in the campaign and the open world locations and all their little nooks and crannies that were specifically designed by the team at Bungie so you could experience them for the very first time. When they build a segment in the campaign, they ask themselves, what's it going to be like the first time the player comes here? And if that gets spoiled for you, even in just the tiniest of a screenshot, I feel that it strips away some of that value. I know that for me, the campaign from start to finish was as special as it was, despite some flaws, because I hadn't seen any of it. Because I got to see all of the set pieces with my very own eye, my brother beside me. I got to grin and smile and laugh and have a good time with him for the very first time together. So I don't want to ruin that for any of you. So feel free to flick the video in the background unless you want to watch me kill some stuff in a public event, and let's talk a little bit about Destiny 2. I think it's important that we start by talking about the overall presentation of the game, its audio-visual design, which includes, of course, music, sound effects, and graphics. Graphics, atmosphere, the layouts of the open-world planets, all of that stuff. We're not going to go too deep into the open world stuff. I don't want to start, again, spoiling things, but we can still touch on it. Now, when it comes to the music, Destiny 2 is pretty fantastic. They did a really good job with the music, guys. This is going to be a soundtrack that you're going to want to listen to on the weekends, even when you're not playing Destiny. It's just so diverse. I think that's the best way I can sum up the soundtrack, is that every location you go to, every portion of the campaign had its own soundtrack, its own piece of music, purpose-built to drive you through that experience in one way or another. And when you jump from Nessus to Io to the EDZ and the music changes, you can really see how the music was built for each of those locations, sort of to, to almost exist as a complement to their own identity. The music being like, this is what Io would sound like. This is the sound of Nessus. This is the sound of the EDZ. And when you do that with music in a video game, it carries a lot of weight, man. It adds a lot of value. You're already going to be seeing a lot of people talking about how they could sit in the farm for hours on end and just listen to the music, and I could not agree more. Now, when it comes to the audio design of the game, Bungie, man, I mean, they reworked all of the weapons that you've come to love and know, so scout rifles, hand cannons, not to mention the fact that we have all of the different weapon types. So, like, an Omlon hand cannon, of course, sounds different from a Suros or from a Hackade. Just some of the exotics. I'm not going to play the sounds for you right now, but some of the exotics that you will run into, guys, are next level incredible when it comes to their audio design. I mean, I can't think of a point or a piece of Destiny 2 that doesn't sound good. I mean, just opening loot chests, the sound of a humming resource in the distance, an enemy dying. Bungie continued to crush it with the audio design, and again, it's a big part of what makes the game so enjoyable. Now, when we talked about visuals, I really want to hit on this. This is something I didn't actually get to talk about when I covered Destiny 2 on the PC during beta. Destiny 2 looks amazing on PC, and it will look really great on high-end rigs. But the reason it looks so good on PC is because it already looks good on the console side of things. Like, it looks good on console because it looks good, because Bungie makes beautiful looking games. The atmospherics in Destiny 2 are through the roof. Lighting, fog, volumetric fog effects, all of the little details, the bits and pieces that you'll find in the game world. The density of the world themselves, when we talk about the actual geometry, the design of a location like the EDZ or Nessus or Io, they're just so rich, they're so believable. More believable than anything Bungie has ever built. Whether it be Destiny 1 or the sandbox levels in Halo, this stuff is just really, really incredibly well made. This is the type of thing that's going to give you a lot of reasons as an individual to go out and explore. Something that so many of us wanted to do in Destiny 1 and that we wanted to believe we'd be able to do in Destiny 1, but that we really never got to do until the Dreadnought and the Plaguelands. This is better than the Dreadnought and the Plaguelands. I just really can't stress what an amazing job they did with locations like the EDZ and Nessus. You know, not all of the locations are as big as the EDZ or Nessus or IO. Titan's a little bit smaller, but even Titan has its little beautiful set pieces. It has its little hidden caverns and caves and hideaways. There hasn't been a place that I've gone in my time in Destiny 2 in the last 20 plus hours that hasn't been enjoyable for one reason or another. And again, it's that diversity as you jump across the different planets that makes them fresh and exciting to explore. And I imagine that's going to remain true for many people for hundreds and hundreds of hours. It's just going to be a better game to go through that core gameplay loop in. Eventually, you will hit endgame. You know, eventually you'll run through all of the content and you'll want to keep playing, maybe because you want to get raid gear or just because you enjoy playing the game once a week with your friends. I think what they built here in Destiny 2 is an experience that is going to be more enjoyable once you reach that point and is guaranteed to be more enjoyable as you make your way to that point. That's really all I can say about the game's overall game design. It is superb. It is far better than anything in Destiny 1, and I do think it is one of the best works that Bungie has ever been able to put together. Is it still a looter shooter? Yeah, absolutely. And that's really something I wanted to touch on next. In a lot of ways, Bungie has refined so many of the mechanics that were in Destiny 1 to make them more simple or to even eliminate them altogether in Destiny 2. What I've come to the realization of as I've been playing Destiny 2 is that Bungie has kind of finally stuck to their word. The idea that Destiny is a shooter first and a little bit of an RPG later. Now, with Destiny 1, they always said that. They made that claim, but I think it was more of an RPG, more of an MMO-inspired FPS than they ever wanted it to be. There were so many grindy mechanics, like collecting resources just so you could upgrade one specific path on a weapon. Now, some people might have loved that. You know, it's the same reason people love Warframe. Warframe is more grindy than anyone ever wanted Destiny 1 to be, but people love it to death, right? So you're going to sit on either side of the spectrum or maybe somewhere in the middle. What they've done with Destiny 2 is they've redefined its identity, and they've said, nope, Destiny is, at this point, in Destiny 2, a first-person shooter first and foremost, with a little bit of an RPG. But this is an action-adventure FPS, if you will, and we want to keep it that way. And I think that's a good thing. I think now is the time to redefine the experience, to make sure that people understand what Destiny can be going into the future. And in a lot of ways, it's Bungie, I think, realigning with their original identity, the identity that they crafted for themselves when they started making games like Halo. You know, to say, yeah, Halo's a first-person shooter. Are we really good at instilling wonder and scale and, you know, grandeur into our first-person shooters? Yeah, absolutely. And that's exactly what they've done with Destiny 2, because this is wonder on a whole new level. It's a first-person shooter that has some RPG elements, that has a hell of a lot of exploration and wonder, which means that you can appreciate it as a first-person shooter as you make your way through all of these open-world locations and experience all of these little quests and stories and tales and make these memories with your friends as you complete challenges and things like strikes and raids. And when it's all said and done and you go back to the farm, you go back to that social space, you're not sitting there looking through a page of materials to figure out how you're going to upgrade your next weapon. You just do it very simply and in a very refined manner. So that's going to be one of those things that's simply love or hate, depending on what you wanted out of Destiny 2. If you wanted more in-depth RPG mechanics, well, you're not going to have that. If you wanted it to be more focused on the shooter, looter, you know, just adventure exploration side of things, well, then you're probably going to love Destiny 2 far more than you ever thought you would. I did want to touch a little bit on the campaign. Again, not something I want to spoil for you guys, but I was able to finish it this morning with my brother. And all in all, through and through, I thought it was really, really well paced. Probably one of the better campaigns Bungie's ever built. Is it the best campaign they've ever built? No, I don't think it is. I still think it's really good. I still think when it comes to the writing for the game, they are still trying to find their place. But I found that the more lighthearted approach they took with certain characters like Cayde has done well for them. And again, I really want to talk about pacing. The pacing was just phenomenal from start to finish. It was one of the best things about the campaign, alongside of the environmental design. These set pieces for the campaign were incredible. Like Halo 2 levels of incredible for me. That's my favorite Halo. I always draw comparisons to it. And when a developer, you know, does something in the FPS campaign realm, and they get that feel where I just, you know, I have those memories flooding back to all those specific levels, that's Destiny 2. It's going to be a little bit harder to remember what those levels were, considering how much stuff I could do between each of the missions in the campaign in Destiny 2. But going back and replaying them is definitely going to be something that I look forward to. There was just some great moments, you know? I don't want to speak on them and spoil them right now, but there were some great moments. Let's leave it at that. The one big flaw the campaign has, though, and really you could say this is a flaw for a larger portion of the game, is difficulty scaling. There's no difficulty selection here for the campaign. You don't boot it up like in a traditional first-person shooter like you would in Halo and say, I want to play on Legendary. You simply play through the campaign. And if your light level is higher than the recommended light level, you're not going to have any sort of a realistic challenge. And for my brother and I, two people who used to just run two-player co-op on Legendary on all of the Halos day one and crush them in record time, we want a bigger challenge, you know? And when we're faced with something that isn't at all challenging, we simply steamroll it. So we steamrolled the campaign. It was still enjoyable. It's still a satisfying game when it comes to its core gameplay loop and its core, you know, its gunplay mechanics. But we wanted heroic or legendary difficulty on the campaign. I get that we'll get that when it comes to the strikes and to the raids, but we wanted it on the campaign. And what I would have loved to have seen Bungie do is to build a light scaling system. So say you boot up Destiny 2 and you go to start the campaign for the very first time. Bungie asks you, what sort of a challenge do you want? You know, I'm a veteran. I want, you know, a really difficult challenge. No, I'm a first timer. I want a casual. Basically, you know, that skill spectrum you get in a traditional first-person shooter from normal, easy, hard, very hard, legendary, so on and so forth. Then, the light level for the missions would scale accordingly to your light level, regardless of how much you increase your light level via side activities. No doubt that would have been a super challenging thing to build, and I can imagine they were already having trouble just getting enough content into the game to match the progression and vice versa, but that would have pushed the campaign through the roof for me, because the set pieces and like the little environments that you engage in combat in were really good, but they were just never quite challenging enough for me, and that made them carry a little less weight, a little less value when it was all said and done. So I'm going to leave it at that, guys. I don't want to talk on any more right now. We'll wait a couple more weeks. Maybe at the end of the month, we'll do a spoiler cast for the game's campaign and go a little bit more deep into some of my favorite levels and some of my favorite design decisions from the levels. But I want to let at least the people on Xbox and PlayStation 4 get through that. And then for you guys on PC, I'll just make sure I slap a giant spoiler label on anything as we get closer to the PC launch. And hopefully, in a couple months, everybody will be in that position and we can talk even more in detail about the game without ever having anything spoiled for anyone. The best thing I can tell you, if you are a individual that is going to be picking up Destiny in the coming days, is to just stay away from the internet. If you happen to watch this somehow, even you took that risk, be careful, be vigilant, and really experience the first 20+ hours of this game for yourself, on your own, and for the very first time. You know, don't let anybody strip that away from you. There's so much value behind blind first-hand experiences. I can't stress it enough. If you guys have any other questions for me, though, feel free to leave them down in the comments section below. If you are a veteran player, if you will, someone who's already made your way through the campaign, please try and keep it as spoiler-free down there as possible if you have discussions with anyone or answer questions. Thank you so much for watching, and as always, remember to play smart, remember to play to challenge yourself, but most importantly, remember to play for fun.